it would be good to ask, you know, did she, how many, I don't know, can you ask how many tickets, get a warning first, type of thing? You know, I would hope
Jen, do you want to look and see if there's anybody out there?
she got a warning
I'm
first
hoping the clerk's office
before
didn't
she
lock
started getting
the.
tickets.
I'll check that too.
Well, this door locks at 5.
Yes, that door should be open though.
Right.
Right.
Okay, she's here. We're doing this at 5:30. Who's that? Yeah.
Well,
No, I asked. It was.
so you went by this.
I wanted to do something. There were
You
no
can have a
back.
seat.
Oh, good. I don't get to stand at the podium.
Yes, in a minute.
Activity after this, and that is not gonna work out, but I still think it's a better use of everybody's time. If it's just a briefer discussion and applicant could make it, and we had everybody from the board could make it, so I thought we would do that.
Right.
5:30, are we ready? I got 5:30.
Alrighty. Good evening, everyone. We will begin our Board of Appeals meeting for the City of Holland. Board members are regular citizens of Holland who have volunteered and have been appointed by City Council to consider applications to the Zoning Board of Appeals, Housing Board of Appeals, the Construction Board of Appeals, and for accommodations for persons with disabilities. This board must interpret each application as it relates to city ordinances. This board is not empowered to rezone or to take any action that could be considered rezoning. The agenda is in the order that the applications were received by the city. The presence of 4 board members is required for a quorum. It also takes 4 concurring votes to approve applications. When your application is called, we ask that you come to the microphone at the podium and state your name and address. We will hear the applicant explain their application first. The board will have the opportunity to ask questions, and then there will be a public hearing. After the public hearing is closed, there will be no other opportunity for further public comment related to the application. Decisions of the board are final and are effective on the day of such decision. However, applicants may appeal decisions to the circuit court in accordance with state law. If you elect not to stay for our deliberation and decision, you may call the Community and Neighborhood Services Department after 8:30 tomorrow morning to learn the results. Meetings are streamed live online and recorded and available to view on the city's YouTube channel. If our board has no objections with the agenda, will our clerk please read the first item?
The application is for 111 West 31st Street. Application number 24.04Z. Jennifer Sharp is requesting a variance to expand the driveway at her home. She would like to add concrete on the west side of her existing driveway where the ordinance does not allow paving between the house and the street. The Zoning Board of Appeals may approve this request if certain conditions are found to exist.
Okay, Jennifer, could you approach the podium, state your name and address, and explain the application?
Jennifer Sharp, 111 West 31st Street, South Side. Yep. I'm in a bit of a rock and a hard place. I've been in this house for almost 4 years now, and there's a single driveway, and I have a drawings for you guys if you want to. Do you want to? Okay. Thank you. Yeah, thank you so much. They're very sketchy, so please forgive the right angles aren't exactly tight. I am a single mom with 3 teenagers, a GRCC student, a GVSU student, and a U of M student. The GVSU student and the GRCC student are home quite a bit. Everybody has cars, so there's 4 cars total in the household. And when my U of M student comes home quite often, at this point, we have to beg and borrow a slot for her to park on with neighbors and things like that. So there's also a church like kitty corner from us, but I don't think that's probably legal to park there overnight. So we're trying to stay above board here. We get tickets constantly because we just don't have the space in the driveway for the cars. The single car garage is very, very narrow. It was put up many decades ago by a previous owner, and it's really kind of and it's not real solid, and it's very, very narrow, so it goes right up to the edge of the property line. As you, actually, I see the Google Maps images up there. You can see how close that is. There's not a whole lot of wiggle room on either side of the house. A number of my neighbors all have two-car wide driveways and or garages, like the neighbor you see on the screen there. The neighbor on the right there is the corner, and she allows once in a while for a car to go on her little extra strip, but that's hit or miss. And so the kids are often like, who's going to get the ticket this time? I'm not going to park on the street. You park on the street and pay the ticket. So it's I'm kind of stuck in between things. So I would really appreciate it if you guys could see see a route for me to expand the driveway. In the photo of the actual house itself, you'll notice that I do a lot of landscaping. I'm an avid gardener, and my plan is to garden the little spot where between the dotted line and the wavy walk. There's a little triangle there. Yep, that's it. So that it masks some of the carness going on behind it, and keeps the curb appeal for the house. I'm pretty adept at that. I'm a designer, and that's one of my things. So yes, I would really appreciate any consideration you could give me.
Any questions from the board?
Before you came in, we were discussing what the current garage looks like. Is there a bedroom behind the current garage, or is it just straight up garage?
It's
to the
straight
back?
garage and nothing behind it.
Okay.
So yeah, it's just
And then
empty.
it's hard to
Well, it's
see.
garden.
Okay, so there's a garden behind there.
Yeah.
In the picture,
Yeah.
that picture.
Mhm.
It's hard to tell what that blue is. What is that? I mean, what's behind the garage? Nope, the previous picture.
May I walk up close to it so I can see what you're referring to?
Yeah, like,
I have since, that's an old Google Maps image.
okay.
I have since gravelled over the entire yard back there and put in planting beds, raised beds all over for vegetables and perennials and things like that. So that is all garden, all the way up to the house.
Okay, thank you.
One thing I might want to add is that we've been paying hundreds of dollars in tickets each month on this. So I'm a public school teacher. I can't afford that.
My question,
Yeah.
first one at least, we'll see. The garage, in terms of the depth,
Yeah.
is it deep enough that two cars would be able to go through there?
Nope. And even putting a car in there, the original steps to the before the garage thing, I don't even barely want to call it a garage, was built. There's stairs that go down to the driveway, which was the original driveway that went all the way from the street to the end of the house in the back. Yeah, and there are steps that go down, which is the door, the back door, which is the door that most people had used going in and out of the house. So to open the car door, it hits the concrete steps. So it's really hard to maneuver in there and hard to get in and out of a car. Yeah.
So there's effectively one space for a car in the garage, then there's there's two spaces in the driveway proper, so that's why there's always a extra car.
There's always an extra car,
when
and
the
I guess
kid
I'd
from U of
argue
M comes.
the space in the garage being big and wide enough for a car, unless it's a really tiny one. So that's my car right there, the red one. I can't park that in there. Yeah.
So the steps you're saying, they protrude into that space
Yes.
we're looking at?
Mhm.
Okay.
Yeah.
When did you buy the home?
2020. Yes, 2020.
Okay, so it's been
Right,
four
before
years.
COVID. Yeah, almost
So
4 years.
4 years. What was the plan with the kids growing up at that age? Was it just, hey, like this is what I can afford in this crazy housing market?
Yes.
Okay.
100% yes. I had to downsize.
Mhm.
Yeah. I became a public school teacher after a corporate life, and found my calling doing that. I also, I don't know if you want to hear all of this, but my ex-husband had a traumatic brain injury and is now living in a nursing home, and so we had to sell our very lovely big house and downsize to my little cute house, which I love very much. And so we had to kind of weigh a lot of things at that time, so.
Have you looked at any other design options or other avenues to pursue more parking that may extend into the back of the house, the backyard or anything like that?
I can't afford I just can't afford to build past, like take off what's there and go beyond it. I'm pretty much stuck to adding some concrete to the driveway.
So one of the other things we discussed during the study session, if you're standing inside of your garage looking towards the backyard.
Yes.
Is that all garage up to the back of the house, or is there a room
There's no
behind?
room. There's no room besides the garage. That's just the garage,
So-
and it ends at the end of the house.
So the garage takes up this entire length along the side property line?
Yes.
That's all garage?
Yes.
There's not like a mud room or a laundry room or a bedroom or anything behind that garage space?
No, there isn't. And again, it's very, very narrow, and I can't get wider on it at all because that property line is right there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
When you purchased the house, how many kids had cars?
None.
None? Okay.
Yeah.
So
We're in a new era of life.
who was the unlucky kid that got the fourth car?
So it's my U of M'er who is
Uh-huh.
home the least. She is stuck in a neighbor's little extra pad of concrete.
Yeah.
And the other two fight over which,
Yeah.
no, you go.
But when that kid comes over to use did you say a neighbor's spot?
Yeah.
That there still is, I presume, a little bit of a do-si-do that has to happen with that neighbor sometimes, where it's like, hey.
Totally. We
Yeah.
always have to, we set it up ahead of time if we can with her, and she's an elderly woman, and she, we try to do the right thing by making sure she knows when and who and where and what car and all of that, so.
And the tickets, is that just an issue with the winter time?
For sure.
Whenever it's the overnight parking, of course it's getting you, I presume.
Absolutely. That is the main issue. So if I'd be fine not expanding the driveway if we could somehow not get the tickets, but I don't know if that's possible. But yeah, so I got a ticket just last week again. So it's a long time for.
Yeah.
I don't know exactly what the cutoff is, fall to spring, but yeah, it's a lot of money.
When's the spring cut off, you know?
On-street parking is allowed from May 15 to October 15,
Okay, May 15th, yeah.
Overnight.
overnight. So
Yeah.
starting October 16,
Yeah, I heard October
no more
early, right? I
on-street
heard
parking
May 15th.
until
Yeah.
May 15.
After tulip time.
Yeah.
So I'm not saying this is the answer, and the church would be private property.
Right.
I happen to know that in several places, whether it's a rental or owners that don't have room, such as yourself, they're parking cars in places like that. It's probably a don't ask, don't tell, but have you had a conversation with them?
We have not.
Okay.
I'm not quite sure how to broach it with them. I'm trying to sort of do the dance and make
Right.
sure that everybody is satisfied. So, yeah, I have not approached that
Okay.
yet. I do notice that there are a lot of other houses in the neighborhood, in my block and in blocks adjacent to me, that do have that double wide driveway, and I'm just wondering if, is there a difference between them having it and me having it, or how does that work?
I'll field that. So we allow people to pave up to their property line.
and then up to the edge of their garage, but not directly between the house and the garage.
Okay,
So if someone had a breezeway, additional paving might be allowed, or
Okay.
if there's extra green space. Some people have enough room next to the garage that they can have their garage drive and extra parking pad next to that,
I see.
opposite the side of the house.
Yeah, gotcha. Thank you.
And I do see several of those on your street, little pads
Yeah.
off to the side.
Yep.
Yeah, it's,
But they're away from the house, not.
yes.
They're
away
away,
from the
they're
house.
not
Yeah,
in front of the
exactly. I
house,
can
they're
only
not-
go in like the drawings.
Right.
That's essentially what that drawing is just bringing it in a little bit. And trying to mimic the curve of the wavy walk so that it's aesthetically pleasing as well.
And if I can ask another question, do you think by adding that additional paving between the house and the street, will that enable you to get all of the vehicles on your property, or you still think you might have to shuffle one?
I still have to shuffle one at that point, because I could put two in my current driveway, because I know I'm not allowed to be beyond the sidewalk, right?
Right.
And then one in the expanded piece of it, and then we'll cast lots for the, for the last part, neighbor's spot.
And so for your drawing, it's just, but you're talking about paving just from the sidewalk to the house, not sidewalk to road?
It would have to go to the road, so there's a sidewalk on that drawing, and it does
Yep,
go.
yep. Okay,
Yeah, because we'd have to be able to get in, I'm just worried about not hitting the
Right.
cars, like,
is extending that curb cut an option?
I'll have to look into it, I'm
Okay.
not sure.
Okay.
and if not, I'm totally willing to try and brainstorm some ideas to not have to do that, but it would be ideal to be able to do that.
Is overnight parking allowed at the church?
If it's on private property, that would be at the discretion of the church.
Okay.
Are you able to park on the grass? I mean, is that, no?
No.
Oh, no, never out of your mouth again.
Not if there's a curb, not if there's a
Parking is
curb.
only
I'm the
allowed,
new guy, just saying.
The only thing worse
parking
would
is
be parking
only
on tubes.
allowed on existing driveways or approved paved, hard surfaced areas. Thank you for asking.
I haven't gone into your garage, obviously. You mentioned that there's stairs from the original owner's setup that kind of extend out into the area. If those stairs were removed, is there a depth to that garage? Because you said that there's not like a mud room or anything behind it.
Correct.
If
Yeah.
you took the stairs out, could you fit another car in potentially?
Oh, potentially, but then I'd have to leap up to because the ground floor of my house is like this far up. This far on the ground, so
Okay.
that would be, I need some way to get up there.
There would still need to be some way to access that door.
Right.
Or else, like, that door would just be unusable and you'd have to go around to the back or front door.
Right, exactly. And I only have two doors, that door, in the garage, and then the front door, and that's it. No door in
Oh,
the
there's
back.
no back door to the yard?
Nope.
Just through there, okay.
Any question?
We did find that in 1964, that the garage was, or actually it was a carport at the time.
Right,
So it wasn't
right. It went from
enclosed.
there, and I think originally, I could be wrong about this, but I think originally it was just the driveway, because there's an identical house a few houses down, and all they have is the driveway, no carport, no nothing, and their footprint of their house is just like ours.
Okay, so, I'm, at some point in time between 1964, I envision, in my mind, a definition of a carport is not enclosed.
Correct.
So, between 1964 and 2024, there was an enclosure done. It's not ideal, obviously, but if
Oh,
that
it's
was
pretty
Can you drive past the steps that you were talking about?
I can drive past the steps, I just can't open the door.
Understood.
Yeah,
If the rear wall was removed, again, not ideal.
right. Really
To
not
drive
ideal.
past and through, again, mimicking the other homes in the neighborhood where the driveways go into the backyard and open up into where they have their parking is in the backyard. Where many homes have their garages in the backyard. I don't know, that was just another option that
I
I was.
would love, love, love to demolish the whole garage and start from scratch, but it's too much money. I just can't afford it.
I found this picture, but I'm sorry, you really can't see. But on my computer, I can see that the stair comes out to about here.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah. So prior to the enclosure, there's a little bit more wiggle room on the right side if there's no enclosure. But because there is,
It's kind of the deal where you could, if there wasn't a wall there, you could open your door and just
exactly.
Are there any other questions from the board? Dan?
I'm good.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
At this time, we will open the public hearing for comment. Did you have something else you need?
No, I was just saying thank you.
Okay.
I appreciate it.
We appreciate it, thank you. At this time, we'll open the public hearing for comment or concern specific to the point in regards to this application. Trish, or did we receive any communication from anybody in the neighborhood?
We did not receive any communication.
Okay, thank you. And seeing how nobody else is present here, we will wrap up the public hearing and close that. Questions, I'm sorry, not questions for the board. At this time, we will close the public hearing. The board will now deliberate. Does anybody have any thoughts or questions or comments leading one way or another?
Let's see, so of primary concern, the main problem is that if we wanted to expand that driveway to the west, it is technically now in front of the house. Whether or not you cut the curb to make it a double wide or keep it single and have to, meander over. Fact remains that that area is in front of the house. It's not part of the garage area where we've often seen, okay, well, you can expand your garage, or not your garage, you can expand your driveway, but it has to go opposite. It can't go into like that frontal silhouette, if you will, of the house. It can go off if you've got the space. She doesn't have that space. So on the one hand, there is some concern with the size of the lot, that it is narrow where they've put the driveway and where the house is. She didn't build the house, so in a way she did not like intentionally design this and then come to us and say, look, I designed this house and oops, now there's 4 cars. Can you help me out here? She is inheriting this from a previous homeowner. On the other hand, it's one of those things that we always struggle with, is that we get applicants who want to be able to utilize their property and the lifestyle that they need, but then we, as the Board of Appeals, we have to deal with the ramifications of she might sell that house and someone else might come through, and we always have to continue on with the property. We have to judge the property and the land, not necessarily who occupies it. As much as we like the applicant, we have to deal with this, unfortunately, just in terms of the land. And that's where we find our constraints, because we're looking for those unique, like weird properties that don't conform to the rules. And this is 52 feet wide, this lot is. minimum of 50, so it's not unique there. So it's not uniquely narrow, and it has 3 parking spots. It's got one within the garage area. Maybe potentially she could rework something and get a second one out of the garage, but that seems like it's difficult. She does have the ability to park 2 cars in the driveway before the sidewalk, so she's not blocking the sidewalk and having that violation to deal with. So there's 3 spaces, but there's 4 cars. How much of this is land-based and how much of this is use-based? And what's the remedy for the applicant if we find that we can't approve the request? What are you guys' thoughts?
Just from listening to the conversation, I would maybe argue that I don't know that inside of the garage is necessarily a viable parking space.
I agree.
She doesn't drive a very big vehicle, and she testified that she can't even open her driver's side door because it hits the step. So I have been to this property, but it's been a really long time. So I don't know if, based on her testimony, it sounds like maybe inside the garage might be a half a parking space.
And that
if
may
you
be
had a
true,
bicycle.
that may not be a viable parking space, but the driveway itself does meet the requirements the city has set forward for at least 1 parking space.
I agree.
So that's where the struggle becomes.
Just for clarification for the applicant, we asked staff what was the minimum requirement for parking on a residential unit, and it's 1 car, so.
1 parking space per residential dwelling unit, and then a parking space must be at least 8 feet wide and 160 square feet in size. So based on the drawing provided, it looks like the current width is about 9.5 feet. I didn't measure it to see how deep it was.
Yeah, I was making a clarification to tell you that we did pursue that. As for having a remedy, should we deny the application? I don't believe, I think we've pursued things, we've talked about things, and I think there's potentially a remedy, but unfortunately, there's maybe some financial restrictions for the applicant.
Well,
So I think we've proposed some things, we've talked about some things, and I don't know if we can provide a remedy, or is it our responsibility to have a remedy for anything we deny?
Yeah, I'm not sure if the city should be bound to a remedy, but there are some like social remedies that could take place. I mean, the applicant mentioned that, there's a neighbor that lets cars be parked on the driveway, and there's the potential for a church to let some overnight parking. Given that at least the U of M student isn't there all the time, obviously, often at school and just coming in to visit, there could be, I feel like there could be a remedy there with the church, just to say, hey, my kid's just coming in every so often. Is it okay if she parks there? That might be all that has to happen from the applicant's side of things, but we can't say that the church will necessarily even say yes. I'd like to think so, but.
I don't think it's for us to come up with a remedy. I think we need to decide, are there other options that are available to the homeowner that they could look at and go after?
The board's job is to determine if the application on the table is unique and does it meet the ordinance requirements to be granted a variance.
And I think we also have to think about precedent and what we've done in the past with similar applications that have asked for additional parking with their, what they felt, what they thought were unique circumstances to them and their properties, with their parking situations, with their families and their situations, and what we have determined in the past. And frankly, we have denied them for even far smaller expansions than this. So I don't know if we're ready for a motion here.
So there's the risk of setting a precedent that if we allow this because the homeowner says she, needs the extra space for the kid that's coming to visit every so often, that we'll get increasingly more people coming in that will say, well, look, because of my, lifestyle circumstances right now, I need that space, even though the city has set the precedent through, ordinance and whatnot, that if it's in front of the house, you can't put pavement there. We would kind of be trying to push against that rule without much foundation, it seems like, because the lot is just not unique enough to, at least to my mind.
So
to
as
validate
we've
that push.
described it before, and you made a great point earlier, Matt, that the variance carries with the property, not with the owner. So we don't look at the owner's economic hardship, we don't look at their circumstance, because this will carry forward into the future. We look, are there unique circumstances with the size or the shape of the parcel or the building? We've considered unique circumstances with a building before and made determinations based on those unique circumstances if they're not self-created. So many of the other driveway applications we have seen have been denied because there were alternate options where they could comply. They just didn't want to. So I will share that I talk to people all the time about the rules and what they can and can't do. And if I don't think they have a good chance of meeting the standards, I encourage them not to come, because I don't want to waste the board's time. I don't want to waste the applicant's time. If it's a situation that's similar to others that we've heard in the past where the board has made a denial. So I talked with this applicant, we looked at the property, we looked at the location of the house, we looked at the single stall carport garage structure, and thought, well, she doesn't have a lot of other options. She can't pave to the side because she's already only got a foot. That's not enough room. So in this particular circumstance, it's the board's role to determine if there are enough unique circumstances with this lot that don't apply to every other lot in the city. You guys are the relief valve. So if the application is approved, yes, you would be approving her to break a rule that's written. That's why you have to find unique circumstances with the parcel and not with the particular owner's situation. Does that make sense?
Yeah, thank you for that. Yeah.
Can you put the picture up with where we can see the front of the house, please?
Mm-hmm.
Is there one that's more straight on?
I don't think so. I
Okay.
can try to get something on my computer.
No, that's fine.
Not pertinent to the discussion, but I do like that landscaping quite a bit.
Mm-hmm.
What are we thinking, folks? I don't want to screw this one up.
I'm thinking that when we get down to brass tacks and look at the lot, I don't have enough evidence to be able to say, okay, this is a unique property, this is a weird property that means that
Okay.
we, have rules that don't necessarily and shouldn't apply. We've seen lots like that over the years. as
I
we've been
agree,
serving
and
the
I-
city, so.
I think I have flopped on this first one to a yes, it is unique. It is smaller than they would allow now, but the garage is not necessarily usable. That's a great pick right there. Thank you. With the steps coming in and the narrowness of it already, and then the circumstance surrounding the need for the variance, were these created by the owner? No. They did not enclose this. If were it still a carport, it would probably be more functional. In our third question, we have to come up with a yes or no answer to is, will strict compliance with the no paving on the west side or house side of the driveway unreasonably prevent the property owner from using the property for an allowed use? I would say no, she can still use it as a home. But the or question here is, will complying with the rules be unnecessarily burdensome? That's the one where I'm thinking, yes, it will, given the financial burden. I see only 2 vehicles fitting on this property, where I thought it was 3 before we heard the application. That still leaves one that needs,
Well, I'm sorry, I would
solved,
go
but-
to the fact, even if we gave her the relief to this, she's still +1. She can only park, if we gave the relief, 2 in the driveway, 1 in the new lot, she still has 1 car that's gonna get ticketed.
Which maybe you have neighbors.
we don't have enough from the house to the sidewalk to get 2 cars? No?
Well, maybe, but she has 4. She has 4 vehicles.
Right, I mean, like, 2 in the driveway and then 2 in the expansion.
Only 1.
Only 1 in the expansion. Okay.
So with the relief, if the relief was granted, the problem still persists at this current level, or this current state.
I guess we're talking here, it's, we're talking about an individual's issue and not a property issue.
Right.
We talk all day long. Somebody else moves in, they got 2 cars, 1 car, car and a bike,
6 cars.
6 cars, whatever. So
Yeah.
what we're talking about, I appreciate the conversation, but the reality,
Yeah.
we're not talking about this piece of property.
Yeah, thank you for clarifying that. That makes it really hard for me to answer yes to question 3. I think it's, I'm able to answer correctly on 4 out of the 5, but not that 5th. Does anyone have anything to add before we look for a motion? Okay, do I have anyone who would like to make a motion?
I'll make a motion to deny the application.
Support.
Okay, findings of fact.
I do not believe we have unique circumstances or physical conditions with the property that are unique enough to allow a variance from the ordinance. I don't think that, I think the circumstances surrounding the need for the variance are self-created based on the current conditions of the current property owner. The strict compliance with no paving on the west side of the driveway does not unreasonably prevent the property owner from using the property for an allowed use. The property can continue to be used as a single-family home. The property has allowed parking for more than what's allowed in the zoning ordinance. Is the paving variance requested the minimum necessary? You know, the paving, I think they were looking for not even enough for what they wanted on the paving variance. So those were my findings of fact to deny the dimensional variance.
And who seconded that one, so we can get it for the minutes? John did? Okay, thank you.
How are we doing, Derek?
Let me finish some notes and I'll let you
Okay.
So I think we're good on 3 and 4, but for the first 2, basis for the denial is kind of just a recitation of what the standard is and not so much a why. If you don't mind.
property is not unique enough. The property it's greater than the minimum standard for the lot width. 52 feet is wider than what's necessary. The minimum standard of 50 in that neighborhood. The physical conditions such as narrowness, shallowness, and shape, there's no unique, I don't know, you're asking me to prove a negative, Derek.
You got it with the width. That's
All right.
that's mostly what I was looking for.
Thanks.
And then if you could say what the self-created problem is for the second standard.
The self-created is the request is for additional parking, and I think that's within their control. There is more vehicles than what they, than what they have available parking for this house, I understand, in this property. But I think there's other options that could be sought, in terms of talking with their neighbors, or I don't think it's up for this board to determine where they can park. But I don't think it's enough to create a variance to the ordinance to widen the parking in front of, and pave in front of the house forevermore. So I think the circumstances are self-created in terms of the parking and the needs of the parking.
I'm good.
Based on the number of vehicles.
Yep, got it.
All right, can our clerk please call for a vote here?
The motion is to deny the application. Sorek?
Yes.
Bedard?
Yes.
Davis?
Yes.
Barr?
Yes.
Fusak?
Yes.
Sorry. Savola?
Yes.
The motion passes.
Okay, that is the only item on our agenda. Do we have a motion to approve the minutes?
So moved.
Second?
All those in support, please say yes.
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 All those say no. If there's no further orders of business, we're just looking for a motion to adjourn.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Support.
All right, all those in support, please say yes.
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 All right, we are adjourned.